We're here today with a very important guest who's going to provide us with some updates on a very important case that we've been hearing very little bit about in the news. So we would like to start out by having our guest who's on the phone introduce himself and the organization that he's with.
Okay, I'm Gary Grant, President of the Black Farmers and Agriculturalists Association.
Gary, can you tell us a little bit about your organization?
Black Farmers and Agriculturalist Association was organized in 1997 when the black farmers across America sued the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's called the Pigford versus Glickman class action. The farmers sued because they had been mistreated, discriminated against, and outright blatant racism and racist acts against them as the U.S. Department of Agriculture's agents serviced their loans or did not service their loans, one might say.
And we're in the second round of that case, are we not?
Yes, we are. Well, we're in the second round of trying to get the money. We haven't even finished getting all of those in the first round paid, and now we can't seem to get the money out of Congress for the second round. I'm very confused myself as to why a judge can order a country to make restitution for discriminatory acts, and that the Congress seems to think that it doesn't have to appropriate the money to do it with.
Now, my understanding is that the first case was about 16,000 farmers who received about $50,000 apiece.
Somewhere in there, I think it's closer to, it would be somewhere between 13 and 14,000. I haven't checked the data lately, but I know that it's not a large number of farmers who received. And even those, a lot of those farmers got into more trouble because there's also a clause in there. There's a clause that if they got debt relief, that debt relief was reported to the Internal Revenue Service as income, which then puts them a struggle with trying to pay taxes on monies that they've never seen.
I see. And the second round is for the people who missed filing on the first round? Right,
that there were some late files, and the court initially said no, but we went back and we were able to convince them you can't have 70,000 to 80,000 folk filing claims late and profess that you have publicized the case in the manner that would notify the farmers that, you know, many of them didn't even know that a class action had been filed, and especially down in the South and the deep South, like the Delta, where local newspapers or radio stations didn't carry any kind of information whatsoever about it.
I see. And I know we haven't had much in the news about it up here. Is there more news coverage down there now?
No, it seems to be mostly located right there in Washington. If you catch CNN every now and then, John Boyd sometimes, who's president of the National Black Farmers Group, appears, but there's no real coverage of the whole situation. It's like, well, if we pretend that it doesn't exist, it will go away. And it's not going away, and it doesn't do anything but continues to cause the racial divide in this country to remain open, that you can't start a healing process.
Now, is there any record at this time of the farmers, because I know there's been a long delay in getting this settled. I'm sure a lot of farmers in the interim have either suffered greatly financially or even lost their farms. Is there any record of the number of people that fall into that category?
There's no accurate record at this time because the researchers have not started checking on that, but we know that when the suit was filed back in 1998, the average age of the black farmer was somewhere around 60 years old. We've been 12 years now, so that makes it them at least 72 if they have survived it. Many of the farmers have died, or they are now sick. They have diseases that keep them from being able to operate, and we have also inflicted pain and suffering upon the next generation who says, I don't want to do that because I don't want to have to go through what daddy or granddaddy went through, which is also terrible because that then puts the land more into jeopardy, and we know that in this country that land is the power. A lot of folks think that it's the money, but it's actually the land, because the land is what generates the money.
Now, the court order for the Obama administration to settle this case, this happened, is it back in February of this year?
Back in February is when they started, and no one, the thing that I've never understood is why it had to always be attached to another bill, and I believe there was something like 8 bills total that this had been attached to, and each time the mostly Republicans refused to vote for it, so then it had to be taken away from the bill in order for the other bill to pass. And
I'd like to thank you very much for providing us some insight into this very important case, and we'll do our best to try and spread the word so that this can finally come to a close.
Thank you very much. And do I have 5 seconds here left?
Yes, we do.
To announce that we're going to have the first Black Farm Aid October the 21st and 22nd here in the resettlement community of Tillery, North Carolina in 2010, where we got to raise some money so that these farmers will be able to have some access.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.